Hey everybody, welcome back to Mama Zodi Tarot. So we are going to do the past life reading on Alicia Keys and Swizz Beats. If you saw the current life reading, and you know that it pretty much came up that they had a past life that seemed to be cut short, off prematurely, that they never got to really be with each other. And so this is them, restoring that and getting back to be together. So let's get the details on that and see what that's about, because I figure if we're going to go into a past life, why not go into that one, since we already know that it was spent together. So let's see if we can get some information about this past life. What can we know? I'm probably going to pull some more decks out as we go, because I already see where I'm going to need some different decks than what I have out. But let's just go ahead and start and see what can we know. What can we know so far about this past life with these two? Peaceful outcome and relaxation aids decision. Interesting. Wisdom supports you, roots go deep. Beautiful. Follow the guidance, it leads to truth. Blows up in your face, explosive combo broken. Okay. Fitting it all into place, coming together united. It's a good investment, getting paid, saving up. It's going swimmingly, off the hook, in the flow. And on the bottom of the deck, we have you're on the right time, do it now, seize the day. So we know for sure that they have a past life relationship, right? Like I said, because we got 6 yes cards here out of the 7. 7 out of the 8 technically if we count the bottom of the deck card. But there was the only no card that we see is blows up in your face, explosive combo broken. So we know that there was something that blew up in their face and this relationship was somehow broken apart. And yeah, wisdom, supports you, roots go deep. They could have known each other since childhood, but either way, the roots really go deep. They could have had a previous life outside of this one even prior. So either way, their connection is very, very strong and their roots go very, very deep when it comes to them being with each other. It was always an easy decision when it comes to choosing each other and choosing to be in a relationship. It always feels right. They always feel like, bam, I found my person. This makes sense. It goes together. Like they've always kind of went together and made sense. I'm looking at this card and this looks like someone who is like trying to pick up or make food on like a fire. So this is giving me, that they could have struggled during this time as far as food wise or lived in some sort of poverty. That's what this is giving me. But either way, they always felt very, very divinely guided and connected towards each other. They always felt right. They always meshed. They work well together. Their souls are deeply intertwined and they fit and they make sense. So they always, gravitate towards each other and end up being with each other, and it always just feels right. With this do it now, you are right on time, seize the day. So going swimmingly in the flow, that makes me think that, they've even had children previously in previous lives, because I'm looking at this fish, or they've created things and built things and, done things together previously already. So that's as far as, them having a previous life. I already knew that, but I just wanted to, confirm before we dig deep into it. So all right, let's talk about, I have to grab another deck here. Let's talk about this specific one where the life was cut short. Someone's life was cut short. So let's definitely go into that. Let's definitely go into that. Oh, wait, you know what? Really quickly, sorry, before we do that, let's clarify the roles here. So clarify the roles. We'll do that real quick on who was who. Alright. So let's see, was Alicia the woman in this previous life? I'm getting a no. Alright, so then that means that, yeah. Alright, so Alicia was the masculine in this life and Swizz Beats was the feminine in this life. All right, so just bear that in mind. I won't go too hard on that, because if I do, then I will end up mixing words. So we'll just call them still Alicia and Swizz, but you just have to know that Alicia is playing the role of the masculine. Okay, so when we see cards coming out about a masculine, we're talking about Alicia, and when we see cards coming out about a feminine, then we're talking about Swizz. All right, so just wanted to clarify that for us so that way we're clear while going into the reading. But anyways, let's keep it going here and see Tell me about this past life. What do we need to know about this specific past life where one of their lives was cut short? Food and hunger. Oh my God. I can't make it up, y'all. Didn't I say they might have dealt with starvation or not been able to eat? Because I saw that, where's that card that came out? That is crazy. Wow. No, I'm not even seeing the card. That's crazy, y'all. I was just looking at the card, and now the card is nowhere to be found, but I'm going to find it somehow. I must have, here it goes. It's a good investment, getting paid, saving up. That's what I saw that made me think of possibly, going through some hardships as far as eating. But yeah, I mean, it's clear as day, food and hunger. Wow. So, whoa, this is interesting. I'm seeing love life on the bottom of the deck. Their love life is intertwined and interconnected in all of their past lives. I just knew it. I just knew it. But with that coming out in reverse, it makes me feel like, again, one of their lives was cut short. Possibly both of theirs. So let's see. We got food and hunger. Anything else about this past life? Okay, we got love life in reverse, scribe or writer in reverse, and trees in reverse. So yeah, the family was cut short. That's what the issue is. Like, their lives was cut short. This love was cut short. With the scribe or writer, I don't know if they were in the if one of them, wrote books or was an author, or if that was literally their job was to be some sort of writer or some sort of scribe. But we will definitely look into all of that. I do see wars and battle on the bottom of the deck, so it can have something to do with that. Someone, being at war and dying at some sort of battle and having to, send love notes or send love letters and things like that. Yeah, this is weird. So give me one more, please, on this. I'm seeing transportation. So yeah, someone had to take a journey. Someone had to leave. All right. And whoever this person was that left and went to war, this is the person who, lost out on their life. I do see farm on the bottom of the deck here. So there could have been something about, where they lived on a farm, and they had a farm, and somebody had to possibly go to war, with the transportation, someone had to leave. It's given, go into war. So let's go ahead and get some more on this story and see exactly what happened. But as far as what we know so far, we know that they were living on a farm. We know that someone's life was cut short, that they knew each other since childhood, that a family was left behind. They were possibly talking to each other through letters, being that one was away from the other. And there was some sort of element of starvation involved with this as well. So let's get some more on the story. The whole story here, please. Oh, I'm missing cards, y'all. What are these? Gift, mature woman, and distant horizon in reverse. So, wow. Distant horizon, that's the separation. Like, I feel like this mature woman was the gift, right? The wife was the gift, and I feel like she lost out on her partner, her person. All right, let's see what the story is. Didn't I say it's about that? Somebody's life was cut short, coughing. It's crazy. Main male in reverse. So yeah, it was the man. It was the husband. Sudden wealth. Courtship in reverse. Yeah, she might end pathway in reverse. So after this ending, she came into, some sort of money. Expectation, official person, despair, adjudication, toil and labor in reverse. Oh man. So yeah, she was waiting on her husband to come home. He was some sort of official person. It's given like military, like he was, some sort of real, official person, and he was in some sort of despair. And he, his life was ended, and this caused a lot of sadness for her. She was, it was hard for her to live and to go on without him, with this toil and labor in reverse. She just really felt like it wasn't fair with the adjudication. She just felt like it was like, like it was unfair that she had to lose out on her partner, that she had to lose out on her love and her husband in order to coming to whatever this wealth is. So it's like, even though she had money, it wasn't even really worth nothing when you don't have a partner to share it with, when you don't have your loved one to spend it with. So yeah, this is really sad. Like, he was supposed to be happy and be in love and have, like, it's like when you're supposed to get your wish fulfillment and you're happily ever after, but then you end up just waiting on your person to enjoy it with you, and then the person dies, right, and you lose them, and everything is ended prematurely, and you don't get to have everything that it is that you wanted, and you're just like hoping and waiting and expecting for this person to come back for the rest of your life. You're just sitting there hoping and waiting. That's really, really sad. Just waiting on the time when you get. I'm here because now I'm hearing, when I see you again, it's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. Yeah, like, that's kind of what it gives. So, Alicia, it says fitting it all into place, coming together, united, full of possibility, plenty, creating abundance, sunny outlook, blossom, open to divine inspiration. So, Alicia had a lot of like hope that she was going to see Swizz again in the next life, pretty much. Like, she always knew that they were going to meet back up with each other and see each other again, even though her life was ended. But like I said, Alicia is the masculine here, that the main male who went, whose life was ended prematurely, most likely at war, because with him being some sort of official person, and she just felt like this was unfair. But she being Swizz Beatz as a woman, it's so weird. Like, so it's like when Swizz Beatz met Alicia, it was one of those things where he was like, oh my God, I know you. He automatically felt like, oh my God, that's why he couldn't resist them, because it was like, this is his past life husband who died, who died at war. So that's why he could, like, what I talked about in the last reading. That's why it was so hard for Swizz Beatz to resist Alicia, because he understood that there was something deeper here, right? Like, with this divine inspiration, he understood that they had a divine connection, that they belonged together, right? That this was meant to be. We belong together. Yes, they really, really do belong together, and this was meant to be. So that's really, really beautiful. But this is what happened here. This relationship was definitely cut short. She was left in despair. So let's see what was the aftermath after this, because we know, that she as in Swizz Beatz came into this sudden wealth after Alicia Keys as a he had passed away. So what was Swizz Beatz up to after the fact? Because it's interesting about this scribe or writer in reverse. So I do wonder what was he actually up to once she was no longer here. What was Swizz Beatz up to once, because this is obviously, was he a father? Was he like, in this case, a mother? Was he like taking care of the children, focusing on that? Like, what was the aftermath, being that this relationship was cut short? What was he actually focusing on? Okay, so what I'm getting with this, it is safe for you to love, with past life relationship coming out in reverse. He felt like, listen, if it wasn't her, if it wasn't this past life relationship, then it was not going to be for him. So if it wasn't his soulmate, if it wasn't Alicia Keys, then it was not going to be that person. All right, he was not willing to be with anybody else. He was only willing to be with her. As far as make the effort in healing family issues, I feel like he focused on his children, because we see on this card we got 2 children here, and then on this card we have 1 children. But he focused on his relationship with his parents, taking care of his parents, taking care of his children. With chemistry coming out in reverse, love was not the focus. He didn't spend time worried about love for the rest of his life. He actually worked on just his relationship with his children and his relationship with his parents. So he was focused on being as great of a mother as he could be, as well as being as great of a daughter as he could be. And I think that's what, he spent the rest of his days and his life doing. And it was definitely not about love and passion and anything of the sort. He wasn't trying to find anybody else to find love with to marry. Or she wasn't. Swizz Beatz was not trying to find a husband as a woman. That's what I'm basically trying to say here. He was definitely focused on being a good mother and raising the children and doing things like that. Yeah, I'm seeing religious factors coming out again on the bottom of the deck. Like it's a lot of the same cards from the current life reading. So he understood that his spiritual path was the main focus, and that there was going to be another life for him to be, reborn again with his soulmate. So there was no need for him to focus on finding another love, because if it wasn't her, then it wasn't it. All right. So I want to know about this food and hunger. This food and hunger. What was this food and hunger thing that was going on? Because I feel like that was definitely an issue here. Especially with them, like I said, coming out on a farm, living on a farm, was definitely having to get by with whatever they could produce. So there might have been ebbs and flows as far as the finances. So let's see about this food and hunger. We got growth, freedom, empathy in reverse, self-esteem in reverse, and love. So what this is telling me is that, when it came to, growing, and when it came to, being on a farm and things like that, that's what made them feel the most happy. That's what made them feel the most free. That's where they found each other. That's where they, built their love together. So at the end of the day, that, that farm was definitely a love for them. And but as far as food and hunger, with this empathy in reverse and self-esteem in reverse, I feel like they didn't see themselves as any less than just because they weren't as financially well off. They didn't see themselves as any less than because they didn't have as much as others. They didn't view themselves as poor. They felt like their life was full because they had love, all right? Because they had their freedom, because they could be who they were, and they could grow things by hand. Like this lifestyle that they lived, this growing their own food and being in nature, that was what was more important to them than anything. And they found their freedom and their love in that, and they were devoted to their spiritual path. So they understood that it wasn't about how being rich and having riches. So they didn't let not having food and not having struggling to make ends meet, they didn't let that damage their self-esteem, with self-esteem coming out in reverse. They didn't let it damage that. They didn't let that make them any meaner either. They remained empathetic. They remained kind. They didn't look at themselves as oh, woe is me. They didn't view themselves in a negative light. They felt like love was the main thing anyway. And of course there may be times where you may experience bad days, but you have to look at the good things. With humor coming out on the bottom of the deck, they chose to look at the lighter side of life. They chose to look at the good things, and they didn't focus on the bad. So that was beautiful, and that was amazing for them. So yeah, it's really, really sad that their relationship and their love was cut short. So I do want to know lastly about this scribe or writer that came out in reverse. Actually, let's go here to the Akashic record and see what is this scribe and writer in reverse. Were they having a conversation here? Was this a conversation? And if so, what was this conversation like? What was it about? What were they talking about in these messages and these love notes and love letters that they would send to each other and things like that? What was the nature of the conversation? Let's see. What was the conversation that was happening here? And what was the conversation happening here with this scribe or writer in reverse? Caring connection. They would always talk about, how much they love each other, how supportive, and how much support that they had for each other. And this is interesting because this is also telling me that with protect and professional assistance, it was one of those things where they had no problem, looking for help and oh God, I hope they weren't like really like beggars, like homeless. Like this is crazy. I mean, because it's like they had this caring connection, they had this loving connection, but they weren't financially well off. Like I could tell you that. Like this professional assistance or whatever, that was basically him going out and doing this to get some sort of help. Whatever this journey was that he took with this transportation, whether that was to go to war, whether that was whatever, this was supposed to help them get their finances in order, and they were supposed to be good after this. All right, this was supposed to bring them some sort of help. And so she was constantly messaging him, telling him to take care of himself, to protect himself, to make sure that he stays safe. All right, so that's what the conversation was about. And he was telling her, like, don't be afraid, to rely on my mom or rely on this person. Like, they were kind of just offering each other counsel and help and love. And oh, this is so sweet and loving. They were just telling each other, like, be careful, protect yourself. She was, oh my God. Anything else about the conversation in these letters? Oh God, strategy and planning in reverse. Like, she was talking about how much she couldn't live without him, how hard it was to do things without him, how hard it was to make plans, and her not seeing a future or a life without him, and her not wanting to be without him. I'm seeing consider the options in reverse. Like, yeah, she was just like, I need you, and there's really, I'm always gonna. It's always, they were both telling each other it was just gonna be them two, and there would never be another them. And they brought that peace, they brought that grounding to each other. Whenever she felt like she didn't know what to do, he would be like, listen, calm down, I got you, this is what you do. Right? They were that listening ear. They helped each other, they protected each other. And yeah, whenever they were feeling stressed out, they were able to ground each other and bring each other back down to earth, and relax each other, and just give each other that calm, that peace of mind. Like, they gave each other peace of mind. They loved each other, and they helped each other, and they protected each other, and they always urged for each other to do the same. So that's very, very beautiful, and that's so sad that Swizz had to lose Alicia like this. Oh my God. Oh my God. So just me being nosy, what are they actually, what is their ultimate mission here as far as this current life? Even though I know we're doing a past life reading, but we know that this one was cut short, so we're not going to get to see too much about the nature. We know that they grew up together, but they had to be separated, and he had to do what he had to do. So what is that, what I guess karmic footprint did that leave that they're actually solving and fixing now in this life, is what I'm wondering. Because there's got to be, there's a reason why they're here, back together, and there's things that they have to do in this one. I'm seeing Bridge of Dreams. Ooh, Secrets of Time. What else do we got here? Soul's Anchor. This came out in the last reading. Soul's Anchor and Echoes of Love. So yeah, they're here to show us what true love is, right? That true love still exists. This is my soul contract deck. So they were here to vibrate from a loving frequency and vibrate with love and bring that healing voice and that show people that it's okay to connect with people, right, on a divine level. So it says, love echoes throughout the universe, touching all souls. Listen to its call and feel the healing resonance within. So that's what they're here to show us, to display a very healing love and let us know that those things exist, and it's okay to follow your heart. All right, and go to things that anchor you and bring you back down to earth and make you feel good and make you feel stable. It's okay to go towards stability and your happiness. You don't always have to be in a chaotic love or a chaotic situation with ups and downs. Maybe love is not always all that. Sometimes it can just be stable and beautiful, right? And with the Secrets of Time, it says time is not your enemy but your ally. Everything unfolds at the perfect moment. So that was also something for them to have to learn, because their love was ended prematurely, but it was important for them to know that delayed does not mean denied. It was important for them to learn that just because they lost out on a love in that life didn't mean that they wasn't going to have another chance, right? That they was, I guess I'll see you next lifetime. Okay, baby. They had to know that they was really going to see each other next lifetime, and that their love transcended just that one life. And so with this Bridge of Dreams, they also wanted to show them that your wishes do come true, your deepest dreams, they do come true, right? So you just have to believe in them, and with them following their calling and listening and doing what it is that they were supposed to do, going deep into their soul and figuring out who they was, is what actually connects them to the universe. They understand that they're part of a bigger purpose and a bigger plan here. This kind of looks like the Wheel of Fortune card to me, but they understand that they're a small piece, yes, but they're still an anchor, right? They're still a piece. They're still something that they're an important part and connection to what makes this whole universe what it is. And so they trust that, and they understand that it's important to trust your desires. It's important to trust your dreams, right? So that's what the Bridge of Dreams here is. And then we see shift in perspective coming out in reverse on the bottom of the deck. So It was really just to reaffirm to them that sometimes it really does work out in your favor. Sometimes you do get exactly what you want. You don't always have to change. You don't always have to do things differently. Sometimes you get exactly what you want. You don't have to change yourself. You don't have to shift. You don't have to mold yourself into something else to be with somebody. Like, they both needed to learn that self-respect and authenticity and being who you are is what helps you to find the person that that you're meant to be with, and that at the end of the day, no matter what, there is somebody out there in this world for you. So that's something that was really, really important for them to learn from this past life. So I would love to know about like their children, because they did have children. So what was the children's upbringing like? What was their life like? Because I'm sure that they went through a lot, growing up without their father, losing their father. So I'm sure that was a hard piece. It makes sense now why karmic masculine came out in reverse in in the current life reading, because that's what happened. She lost him before. So wow. Well, let me not say she lost him. They both lost each other, but Swizz Beatz was the one that was still alive as a woman who lost Alicia Keys as a man. But let's see about the kiddos. Queen of Wands in reverse. Oh, well, Queen of Swords. So they felt like, their mom, which would be Swizz Beatz, they felt like, she had lost her spark. She had lost her creative passion, that she was just, possibly very rigid, very, she was smart. She was intellectual, but she was maybe very rigid and maybe a little bit bitter, not as open to being in her passions, not as much of a fun person who likes to like hang out, dance, party, have fun, not really quick to like open herself up to new things, with this Page of Wands coming out sideways. Definitely hesitant to be passionate, and maybe didn't come off as much of a loving mother as they might have wanted. Anything else about the children? Five of Wands in reverse. Yeah, it was quiet, a very quiet household. No arguments, no fights. Death, with the death and the rebirth. With this death card, it's kind of like that quieted down everything. That's kind of what echoed and vibrated through their whole entire existence. Yeah. And so it was, with the Six of Wands, it's kind of like, they tried to move on. They tried to move forward as quickly as possible from this, right? So that they wouldn't be left like feeling stressed out and feeling sad. They saw how their mom was reacting to things, and they kind of didn't want to take on that same energy. Yeah, with this Hermit, they saw how it kind of turned her, it kind of dimmed her light and caused her to, hide herself and, not want to go after her passions and dim her spark. So Swizz Beatz wasn't doing as much as, he would have been doing had his, had her husband, Alicia Keys, not actually died. So the kids saw this, and the kids didn't want to reflect that. So the kids tried their best to, keep pushing forward, keep living life, keep enjoying themselves, and not allowing those things to get to their head pretty much, and dim their light. But I think they had a quiet upbringing, a quiet childhood, not a lot of fights, no arguments. Like I said, the mother was very, very intellectual. She had her head screwed on straight. She focused. Swizz Beatz definitely did what he was supposed to do as a parent, but didn't really have the fun side, and didn't really have the the emotional side altogether. Definitely, with this Ten of Wands in reverse, was somebody who carried a lot of burdens emotionally and carried a lot of baggage, and they didn't want to. I guess they didn't want to end up in that same mode of not dealing with their emotional baggage and things like that, and ended up not being able to be strong and feeling weak and things like that. But it feels like they ended up mirroring it, because like I said, they tried to push it deep down, because she they could see that she was not handling it well and that it wasn't helping, but they ended up in turn pushing it away as well, because if she wasn't speaking about it and she wasn't talking about it, then they weren't talking about it. And so everybody was kind of suppressing their emotions about how they felt about daddy being gone, right? So that's kind of what that was. And there was really no conversation and no talk happening about the situation. And definitely would continue to struggle financially with this Ace of Pentacles in reverse. The children even struggled financially as a result. King of Swords in reverse with the Page of Cups. So she was sort of aloof He was sort of aloof as a parent, and being that he didn't have his anchor, his husband, right? Like, it's like Swizz Beatz needed Alicia Keys to be there to guide, to talk. Like, he needed their help and their assistance to really do things. And so, they continued to remain in poverty and never was able to really be the leader, right, that they needed to be in the children's life, to show them how it is to build prosperity and build money and all of that stuff. But I think that she did the best that she could. If I'm being honest, she was just, she was working with, I'll do the best I can with what I got. Okay, like how Mariah Carey said, like, she really was doing the best that she could with what she had. And so, it was hard for her without her husband. And when I say her, I'm talking about Swizz Beatz. It was hard to do this without Alicia Keys. And so the children sort of suffered a little bit without having a fatherly figure and a fatherly role for them as well. And like I said, they dealt with a lot of unprocessed emotions, and they tend to be very aloof and distant when it came to their feelings and their emotions, because they hadn't processed them. So that's what I would say was the result of their past life love being terminated early. But we do know that currently they're able to bring that back into order. So let's see about their future. Lastly, why not? Like, where is this headed? Where's everything headed to close out the reading? As far as, I know they still on their soul's journey, but as far as where they at now, this is my soul's journey card. So let's see where they currently are as far as their soul's journey right now. Where are they as far as their soul's journey right now in this current present life? In this current present life. Ooh, it's too many, but I am seeing envy. I told you they got a lot of envy over their relationship. I'm seeing blame. It says I accept responsibility for my well-being, and I'm seeing balance coming out. That came out sideways. So I would say at this current point in their incarnation, they're definitely in a smothering kind of codependent thing where they feel like they cannot live without each other. They need each other, right? And that was, that's something that they're learning to deal with in this life. That's the goal in this life, for them to become more responsible for their own well-being, for them to be a little bit more equally yoked and not, in such a worrisome energy, and knowing how to like stand alone. So that's what they're having to work through in this current life that they're in right now. That's what they should be focusing on. Yeah, success in reverse. They shouldn't be worried about, accolades, money, financial success and things like that, which it seems like they're not really. So they're doing a good job with that. But what they really need to bring back balance to is knowing how to care for themselves and take care of themselves. Now, no, not for the sake of greed and, overwhelmingly having money, but they were poor in the previous life. They had to learn how to like stand on their own and stand tall on their 2 feet and stop being, afraid to do so. Right. And so, yes, they came together in this life, but only after they had became self-sufficient to a certain level. That is how they was able to get to this point with each other. So yeah, I'm seeing regret. So they're learning a lot about, not being able to change the past and letting go of the past. And, they're learning about how to deal with regret. See, this is why they came together in the way that they came together, because even though it's amazing and they're in this relationship, now they have a different wound that's being opened, because now they have wounds around whether or not this was the right decision to make. Even if they love each other and they know that they're right, deep down there is still a twinge of, was this the right thing to do, or did we make the wrong decision? Are we going to regret this? Is this going to be seen in the proper light? Like, will we regret this decision in the end? So this is what their soul is having to conquer and deal with in this life. Yeah, and perseverance, with perseverance coming out in reverse, learning to stick it through no matter what people might have to say, what people might think, not, too much worrying about how other people is going to view you or the judgment that might come with the situation. It says, I know that I can do whatever I put my mind to. So it's important for them to learn to be self-sufficient, learn to be ambitious, learn to, trust themselves and trust in their abilities and their talents and things like that. So that's what they're focusing on in their relationship in this life. And I think that that's, amazing for them. And I'm happy for them that they're doing what it is that they're supposed to do. And I wish them nothing but happiness and blessings in the rest of their marriage. So yeah, that's what I have for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. It was an interesting one. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all later.